Hi, welcome to Callie's Art Tips and Tricks. My name is Callie, and for this video I will be showing you the basics for using graphite pencils. To start off this video, I want to show you the types of graphite pencils that I use. These are Artist Loft sketching pencils, and it's a 12-pack. Some come with more and some come with less, but this is just a good variety of pencils that you can start with. For this, I'm not really going to give you a specific brand of graphite pencils to use because there's no such thing as like a good brand of pencils or a bad brand. They're generally just pencils, so what I suggest is to get the cheapest brand. These were probably like $9, pretty cheap, and they work just fine. So what I want to show you is that usually on these packs, or some of them come in tins, but there's a range of numbers and letters. I'm going to tell you what that means. Start off with the letters. There's H and B. H stands for the hardness of the pencil lead, and B stands for the softness. So like hard pencils, the lead is lighter, it comes out light, and it's not as easy to see. And B for soft is the lead is darker, so it's gonna come out in a darker value. So like you can see here, this dark value was used with a B pencil, and these lighter values with the H. And then you have the middle values, which is H and HB. So those are just kind of in the middle between H and B. And then the numbers, so 5 goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and then H, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So H is going to be, 5H is going to be the hardest pencil, and then 6B is going to be the softest. And some ranges go higher and lower, but it just depends on the set you get. But usually for sketching I use the 4H, and darkest values I use the 6B. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that before I get started, just so you knew what that meant, because it can kind of be confusing if you're starting out and you don't know what that means. And then now I'm going to show you what each pencil is going to look like, and then you can see the values going from light to dark. Okay, so I got all my pencils lined up and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to start off with my 5H, which, like I said before, is the hardest. I'm just going to come and I'm just going to show you what that's going to look like. See how light that comes out? I mean, it's probably even hard to see it on camera right now. So I'm just gonna color this in, show you. And when you use an H to sketch, like a 5H or a 4H, whatever you're using, you wanna go lightly. You don't want to dig it into the paper, even though it's light, and even if you want to try and see it better, because if you dig it into the paper and then you go back to color it, you're gonna see the little dents in the paper, and it's gonna be hard to color in. So just make sure you keep it light. And don't press into the paper, just press on it. Just, not press on it, I mean just draw over it. So there's my 5H. Now I'm going to move on to 4H. And it's always good to test your pencils out before you start, just to see, this is the boring stuff. This is the stuff that they teach you in school. Before you get started when you're in beginning art. And it's super boring, but it's necessary because you need to know how to use them before you actually start, so you can get it to look super good. So you're just getting a little bit darker here, not pressing down into the paper and keeping it light. And just practice that too, just because I've made the mistake before pressing too hard. But if you really want to see it darker, then use a darker value, but just know it's going to be harder to erase. And you might see it. So if you want to use a darker value, use it for like if you're gonna do like painting or something, and then that way you won't be able to see it. Now I'm doing 3H. It's just gonna keep getting darker as I go. Like I said, when I sketch, I usually go 4H. I feel like that's a pretty good number. 5H is a little light, But 4H or 3H are what I generally use. 2H. See, I'm holding the pencil loose right now, and this is a good technique too when you're using graphite pencils, just to keep it loose and light, because then you can go back in and rub it with your finger, and you can see later if the value needs to be darkened or lightened. And see, you can already see the difference. Whoops. You can already see this kind of scale here. It's already starting to get darker. Maybe you can't really tell between 5H, 4H, and 3H, but once you get to 2H, especially when you're actually using them, you can tell it's starting to get darker and more soft. And now H. This is the I guess you could say the softest hard pencil that there is. And I'm not pressing into the paper, so this is like the true value for H. What I'm doing now, this technique, this is called cross-hatching. It's what you do when you kind of like this, you cross your lines over, and it kind of creates a darker shaded value. That's one technique to use. I usually just use the regular technique, just straight up shading. But cross-hatching is good. It kind of comes out with a cool texture. And there's also stippling, and stippling is annoying because it takes forever to do, but it actually comes out looking pretty cool if you have the patience to finish. Now we're on to HB. This is one of the middle. This is like pretty much the middle value. Right in the middle between light and dark, you have this one. Of course, you're going to be using this for middle values in your drawings. So what's dark and light at the same time. And you know, some people say like, oh, I can just use like a 2B and I can just press harder to darken it, or use an eraser to pick up some of that color to lighten it. But it's really better if you use all these different kinds, because it just kind of keeps you on track of when you want to use lights and darks. So you're not, so you know, like, making sure what are your darks and lights, and they're purposely meant for that too, so don't just use one pencil for all your shading. Moving on to B. This is the first actually soft pencil. And look, if I show you this scale, look at how dark it's getting already as you keep going. I use my B pencil a lot because there's a lot of middle values, and what you could do is you could pull it out with an eraser, but B just kind of gets it in the middle, and then you can decide whether you want to go lighter or darker. B is a good, what I learned is a local color. Local color is the color you set down before you actually start adding the darks and the highlights. And I'll be showing you that more when I do like colored pencil or paint. Local color is what you lay down first. So this is 2B. And this is so boring. You probably already want to turn this off, but it's so important to know this before you actually get into it. So there's my 2B. Moving on to 3B. Almost done. Got 4 left. And if you want to test this out too, then that would be great, because you have this chart, and you can just kind of keep track of how dark these values are, and you can actually match it up to when you start drawing. And what's really good to practice too when you're using graphite pencils is metal and glass and water, because those have many different different types of pencil, graphite lead in them, and they're just good to practice because they're kind of tricky. And if you can get that down, then you can basically get anything down with graphite pencils, because there's so much reflection and highlights and dark. So that's my suggestion. And I'll actually be doing a tutorial on a metal pitcher, water pitcher, so to show you how to do that. Here's 4B, because a lot of people are kind of scared to do reflective stuff or see-through stuff, because it's hard to get that reflective look. But especially with color, when you're doing color reflections. So usually when I do reflective stuff, I like to stick with graphite pencils, because then you don't have to worry about color. You just have one color. You just have to worry about value. There's my 4B, and look at the difference between 3B and 4B. I mean, you can see that clear. Moving on to 5B. And also, when you're drawing, you might want to set down paper over your drawing, because if you can see my hand, I've been setting my hand in pencil, and it looks dark because I got lead all over it. So, paper can be your guard to make sure you don't get any on your hand. And smear it. Smearing too is a problem. This is 5B. And lastly, we're going to do 6B. This is the darkest one. This is going to be for your darkest values, shadows. And this just comes out so dark. Okay, and that's it. I'll show you the whole thing, and look at that. You can see the whole range of pencils from 5H to 6B in the light and dark. And so that's how it's going to look, and it's good to make this chart and keep it with you when you first start, so then you can, if you forget what they look like, and this is a chart you can have to test it out and just see what it's like. Thank you for watching.